Welcome back, guys, to another college football video. Today's video will be on 16 legitimate Heisman contenders in college football this year. And this absolutely awesome to talk about the Heisman before the season starts. And guys, there are 16 legitimate people that could actually win the Heisman this year. There's not like a front runner. I'll be going over dark horses and front runners. And let's start off with the dark horse number one, and that is Florida State quarterback Jordan Travis. Jordan Travis threw for 1,539 yards, 15 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions, with 530 rush yards. And then next up, we have Jaden DeLara. He transferred over to Arizona. He threw for 2,798 yards, 23 touchdowns, with 9 interceptions. He won the Pac-12 Freshman of the Year, and Jaden DeLara is going to bring Arizona back to being a top 25 team in college football this year or the next. He's an absolute stud, and I just love what he's going to do for his Arizona State team, and Arizona State's finally going to be a good team. And you can bet I just said that because it's going to be really, really true. And it's Dylan Gabriel has thrown for 3,659 yards in 2020 and in 2021. He's thrown for over 70 touchdowns in his career and less than 15 interceptions. Dylan Gabriel is the best quarterback in UCF history and has broke so many school program records. And he's an absolute beast when it comes. If you're talking about the best UCF quarterbacks in college football, this is him right here. Oklahoma is going to be the best team in college football in 2022, led by this guy who's going to be throwing in the 4,000 yardage markets. And next up on the list, we have Texas A&M running back Devon Achane. Devon Achane ran for 910 yards with a 7 average per rush. And when you're averaging 7 yards per rush, you're doing something good. And that's why I have him right here in the dark horse. I could easily put him as a front runner, but I think he's in the dark horse right now because I haven't really seen him start, and I haven't seen him get to run many, many times. But if he's averaging 7 yards per rush, he's going to be really, really good. Next up on the list is the best wide receiver in college football, and that is Josh Downs of North Carolina. He had 1,335 yards with a 13.6 average per catch with 12 touchdowns. He did a little less than I expected him to do last year, but he's still the best skill-wise and talent-wise. And Drake May's going to have someone awesome to throw to this year. And North Carolina might win the ACC. They're going to be huge contenders, and we're going to have to see what they're going to do. Next up on the list is a bit of a hot take, I feel like, but I absolutely love this guy. And that is Jackson Dart, new Ole Miss quarterback. He threw for 4,353 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. Yes, he was a freshman last year who didn't have a good year, but at Ole Miss under Lane Kiffin, he's going to do absolutely dominant, and he's going to blow a lot of people away and be one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC. Next up on the list is another quarterback in the SEC who is the second best in the SEC, no questions asked, and that is Mississippi State's quarterback, Will Rogers. Will Rogers is an absolute dog. He threw for 4,739 yards, 36 touchdowns with 9 interceptions, low interceptions, and he can do basically every single thing right. And he had the most completion in 2021. 2022 is going to be an absolute breakout year for this guy, maybe in the 5,000s. Next up on this list, we have Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and as you know, he's one of the best quarterbacks in UCLA history. Absolutely amazing. He's been in the Heisman campaign a few times. He had 2,409 passing yards, 21 passing touchdowns with 6 interceptions. He also had 609 rushing yards with 12 rushing touchdowns. Dorian Thompson-Robinson's absolutely awesome. DTR is going to have a breakout stud year for UCLA, and he's going to bring the Bruins to almost a 9-win season. Next up on the list in the last dark horse, it's Marvin Mims, the wide receiver for Oklahoma. I have him ranked 4th best receiver in the nation, and come on, Marvin Mims has so much talent. And when you're Dylan Gabriel throwing you the ball, I think there's an easy way you can put him in there, and I absolutely love what Marvin Mims has done. He had 705 yards for 5 touchdowns, averaging 22 per catch. Absolutely insane. Now we have favorites in number 10 on the list is Bo Nix. I do believe Bo Nix is really, really good, and the weapons he's surrounding with at Oregon are better than Auburn. So he's going to have a lot better of a season, and he's going to break out. He threw for 2,294 yards, 11 touchdowns with 3 interceptions, and only 8 starts. He was easily going to have a 3,000-plus year and a 500-plus rushing yard year. That would have been amazing, and best year at Auburn. Next up on the list is Anthony Richardson, and if you don't have him in your Heisman race at all, you're absolutely crazy. I would rank him at my 3rd best dual threat quarterback. because he can't throw very good. He had 553 pass yards with 3 passing touchdowns, and he had 500 plus rush yards. So he had a decent season, but he really wasn't a starter, so we don't know yet. Next up on this list is the first running back in the favorites, and that's Wisconsin running back Braylon Allen. He ran for over 1,300 yards and over 12 touchdowns. Braylon Allen is the second best running back in college football, easily said. Next up on this list is the best running back in college football, highest on the list. His name is Bijan Robinson. He had 1,255 yards, 5.4 average yards per rush, 5.8 average yards per rush. Bijan Robinson's an absolute beast, and you have to agree with that. You really can't do nothing else but say, oh my gosh, he's so good. Next up on the list is Caleb Williams. He came in for a backup. He was a backup, and he came in for Spencer Rattler. And boy, did he prove how good he was. He threw for over 1,900 yards with 21 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. And only the little sample size we have of him, he's looking really, really good. Next up on the list is last year's Heisman winner, Bryce Young. Bryce Young has everything you need in a quarterback. He is poised under pressure. He drops absolute dimes, and I love what he's doing for this Alabama program. He's making them one of the best teams in college football, and, I mean, they already were, but they're building an absolute dynasty. Bryce Young is going to be a franchise quarterback this year, and he might be one of the best quarterbacks in Alabama history. Next up is C.J. Stroud. I have him on my number 2 Heisman watch. You're like, oh, who do I have at number 1? It'll be absolutely crazy. Just stay tuned. Guys, C.J. Stroud threw for 4,537 yards, 46 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. When you have a year like that, you're doing something right, guys, and you don't even know. Next up on this list is absolutely crazy. Next up on the list, coming in at number 1, a guy that I think is going to win the Heisman in 2022. His name is Malik Cunningham, and he's the quarterback at Louisville. Hear me out, guys, of what I'm about to say about this quarterback, and he literally broke a record in college football. He's one of the only top 3 quarterbacks to ever throw for over 2,900 yards and over 1,000 rush yards as a quarterback. So when you're throwing 2,979 yards, 19 touchdowns with 3 interceptions, and over 1,000 rush yards, you're going to win the Heisman.